Hi, Deb. Thank you for joining us again. And we spoke to you a few weeks ago about coming into CAR-T. You've just had them. How are you going?
I'm really well and much better than I could possibly have imagined. I've been scared witless. It's very early days, so I had the infusion on day 0 on Tuesday, and it is now Thursday afternoon. So it's been about, it's day 2. And so you're probably better at maths than me. Although this could be a part of cognition test. I'll tell you about the cognition testing they keep doing. So Tuesday, 12 o'clock, and it's now Thursday at 4 o'clock. So that would be 48, 72, 75, 76 hours. So is it 76 hours or is it 52 hours?
52 hours? Oh, gosh. Yeah. Days. 2 days anyway. 2 days.
2 days, yeah. So
2
the
hours.
Rheumatologists would be able to tell you. You all know how good rheumatologists are with numbers.
Yeah, no,
and they keep, anyway, so I had the infusion on Tuesday. I had chemo last week, Wednesday to Friday.
Yep.
Goodness, it was much harder than I thought it was going to be. I had nausea all weekend, just felt really unwell. And I was talking to the nutritionist about it, and she said, "Were you eating?" And I said, "No, because I felt so nauseous." And she said, "You've got to eat even small amounts to stay ahead of the nausea. It's actually worse if you don't eat." So I actually, with all the reading and all the knowledge, just didn't know that. So I could have made it a bit easier for myself by forcing myself to eat.
Yeah, just something.
Yeah, and taking the antiemetics ahead of it.
Yep.
But yeah, I felt really rough. Yeah, got the appetite back on Monday, and then Tuesday morning came in and went to the apheresis ward, which was the same ward I'd been in when they harvested.
Yep.
And it was a specialist nurse, and pathology brought the CAR-T cells that had come back from America in a freezer box.
Okay.
And it was just, an esky, basically. I was expecting some dramatic, big sort of metal container sort of with liquid nitrogen coming out, but no, and it was like a 60 ml syringe. And that was it. I was just looking at it and I was thinking, oh goodness, can you imagine if you'd in America, that's a $600,000 syringe.
Yeah.
And we are, I'm very, 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 very grateful that we've got this here. And I actually, there's a few people who've really campaigned to sort of get CAR-T funded in Australia, and it was nice to be able to message them on Facebook, and people who have had to fundraise, had to go to America for this treatment. It was nice to say thank you for paving the way. Yeah. And speaking of paving the way, obviously I've done a lot of research about CAR-T and making the decision to actually have it at this stage of my disease when I'm pretty well, but I have failed chemotherapy or relapsed early after chemotherapy, and then had venetoclax, which are one of the best novel therapies that we have for CLL, and relapsed on drug, and then have moved to ibrutinib, and again, very, very, which is the other really, really good drug that we have for CLL. And I've, got a great remission going. And when they did my bone marrow a couple of weeks ago, the MRD is 0.4. And to put that into context, my MRD when I had chemo originally was 59. So I'm very well, in my head, I'm very well. I've put on weight. I've, all the indicators are that my disease is very stable.
Yep.
Sorry, I know I've gone dark there. All the indicators are that my disease is very stable, but my genetic testing, and this is why it's important to have testing, has come back showing that I've now got complex karyotype, which means my disease is quickly becoming resistant. It will not, ibrutinib will not hold the line indefinitely.
Yeah.
And what's given me a lot of heart is that Brian Kaufman also was complex karyotype, and he had 17p deletion as well, so even more aggressive form of the disease than I have.
Yep.
And frankly, the CAR-T trial is open and available to me now, and it might not be in a year's time when I relapse on ibrutinib, or 2 years' time, or whatever. So that's why I've jumped now. But because I was so well, it's been I've had to, I've seen a counsellor, I've had to really dig deep and to, I felt I was brave doing the last clinical trial, but this has felt almost like it could be being a bit reckless with my health. It is a first in human. This is a new CAR T. There's a lot of unknowns. I'm within the first 20 in the world. I'm the first on the higher dose at the PDMAC. It really does feel human guinea pig time. And as much as I advocate for clinical trials, you don't really want to be on a trial this early. No, I'd rather someone else was doing this and I'm 2 years down knowing that I've got access to it. But someone has to be first. So that's me this time. And I wished I had been able to see me now, you know, that crystal ball that I could see myself on day 2, knowing, and me not being in intensive care, which is pretty much what I was thinking. And I do have very low risk for cytokine release syndrome and neurotoxicity because my disease is so low, but you still don't know. You still don't know. And it's that fear that the monitoring's been fantastic. I feel very safe here. They're keeping a very close eye on me, the obs, and, you know, and seeing the neurologist on Monday helped as well. So we did an hour and 10 minutes of cognitive testing. It was very much Mensa testing, and I was loving it. You know, I wanted to get the best result ever.
And there's more neuro testing too, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's things like, you know, it's all hand motor coordination, and, you know, and they do silly things like turn left but point right, so they're trying to trick you as well and see. And this morning I woke up and I got a bit of a fright because sort of woke up and had a very disturbed sleep. I am expecting neurotoxicity. So even though I'm well now, this CAR T, my cells are very young and much younger than the cells that are normally put into people who then experience something by now. So they're really thinking it's going to be next week for me, probably around day 7 to 11. So they're getting me to, let me see if I can show you actually.
Yeah, tell us
one of the tests. So the first thing, and you can probably put this up later, but the first thing they get me to do is write a sentence. So I've been I'm looking forward to putting cancer behind me, because one of the first things is your handwriting starts going.
Yeah.
And it's just, and my fear has been not knowing that it's happening. So I've got all these tests now for when I go home, and my poor partner, he's like, they're monitoring you every 2 hours, you know, but they're expecting neurotoxicity to happen on my watch. Like, he's actually very worried.
And how often do you still have to do 2 hourly when you get home as well?
No, so when I get home, they said if I can, you know, do this 3 times a day, the cognition test 3 times a day. I have actually, because, you know, I'm just over the top, but I have bought myself a little blood test monitor. I have very low blood pressure anyway, so I have to be careful when I stand up. I could have been an Olympic athlete, but I didn't like sport. But naturally, it actually causes quite a lot of problems here, because they keep the new system keeps sending an alert. You know, my blood pressure is often, you know, around low 90s. And it just keeps saying, get a doctor. Like, this patient at risk. I'm like, no, I'm fine. Just let me sit up, have some water, get some orange juice. But I think at home, they're not expecting anything dramatic to happen quickly. So the minute I start forgetting a word, or just, you know, I might become a bit clumsy, that's when my partner will bring me back. We've got to stay within sort of 20 minutes of the hospital for the first 28 days.
And your partner has to be, your designated person to be with you at all times, don't they, as well? So
yeah. And so it is. It's having seen Brian Kaufman, and, you know, obviously if you're interested in CAR T, go and look at the webinar that we had a few weeks ago, because he often says this isn't for everyone, and I can really see why it isn't for everyone. It is very intense at the moment, especially, and because I'm doing a trial, there's a lot of extra bloods, and there's a lot of things that you do so they get their information. But I can really understand why this isn't a straightforward thing. Someone is in the room up there, and there's a trial here where it's around diffuse large B-cell lymphoma. one arm is getting CAR T and the other arm is getting randomized to stem cell transplant. She's just found out she's getting stem cell transplant, not CAR T, and is a little bit disappointed. But stem cell transplant is actually the known treatment. Mm-hmm. So that's what I said, you know, if this doesn't work for me, I'll probably go to transplant. And the stem cell transplant is actually the known, is a potentially curative treatment for both. It's standard of care. We don't know with CAR T. It's exciting and it's less dramatic. Hopefully, even if I do get sick next week, we now know how to treat people.
Yes,
you know, and I've got this,
come a long way. And also, people who do, like that lady, she can have CAR T down the track too, if you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If I just cover the code, but this is my little trial pack that I've been given, and because I am on a trial, if I get a temperature, I have to go straight to an emergency department, and they preferably want me to go to the Royal Melbourne because they know how to treat CAR T patients. But it seems like, you know, there's a little CAR T card here that says this patient must not be given steroids unless in a life-threatening situation, because the minute I'm giving steroids, it's like the kill switch for the T cells, those precious T cells, that tiny vial. But in my head, it's also great, there is a kill switch for them, because, you know, we just don't know. So they now know, and there's a drug called, you'd be able to say it, go on, toxic. Toxic.
Oh yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. It's toxicizumab. Oh, actually, it's on here because this is the other thing they do. So this is the immune effector cell-associated encephalopathy assessment tool, otherwise known as ICE. So my ICE test is the one that they keep saying, "What's this, Deborah?" And I go, "It's a cup." And then they go, "And what are these?" I go, "Spectacles." But apparently next week, I'm not to be surprised if I have to say, they say, "What's," you know, or my partner says, "What's this?" And I go, "It's an instrument for writing," but I can't remember what it is. So it's as subtle as that.
Yeah.
And then obviously if I get sick and, you know, end up, as part of the management plan, they've got this tocilizumab. That's it. That one. You can see we're winning this. You know, there's no medical advice on this one. But what I want to say is that it's been way more emotional than I was expecting. I rang the children before I was infused on Tuesday, and I managed to hold it together. But my partner did see me get teary, because I thought, if I have a bad reaction, this might be the last time I talk to them. Like, it was very overwhelming. I did do an advanced care directive, and that's the first time in 10 years of treatment, and this is fifth line therapy for me. That's the first time I've ever done an advanced care directive, and I feel better for it. I also did, you know, financial and medical power of attorney for my partner, because we're not married, and I just didn't want any complications if it came to it. So I think part of my need for control has been to have everything in order before doing this. Hopefully down the track, this could, you know, will be standard therapy, and it is. Obviously, it's approved as standard therapy for diffuse large B-cell lymphoma, isn't it? And we've got it here now in relapsed and refractory. I'm hoping for CLL. You know, it's very rare to have CLL trials for CAR T, but if I do well, I'm very, very mildly pre-treated. So if it works for me, you know, down the track, you might do a year on, you know, something like venetoclax and obinutuzumab, enjoy your remission, and then when you relapse, you get CAR T. Or after 6 months of ibrutinib, like, you might not have the 10 years of therapy to therapy and a lifetime on drugs. Yes, it's an expensive treatment. You know, it's $500,000, $600,000 just for the engineered cells, let alone the the hospital care, and there are a lot of people involved in my hospital care. I can actually understand now why they were looking at me going to, well, I was looking at me going to America and I was getting quotes of $1 million. I can sort of see why, the care.
Like 15, 16 teams in the hospital involved. Yeah.
And there's an intensive care bed on standby. They can only do 1 or 2 patients a week. So, there's not, nurses are quite excited to meet me because they haven't met many CAR T patients because, they're on shifts and they've been doing them here for a while now. But I think I'm only the 3rd CLL patient. So, and we are generally the CLL patients. You're not allowed to be on this trial if you've had a Richter's transformation. And that's another thing which, my markers now make me very at risk of a Richter's transformation. Yeah. CAR T, there has been some studies where there's been high incidences of Richter's. But I'm sort of, after Tuesday, after the infusion, a lot of the anxiety lifted. I think because there was no more second guessing it. And it's the same for, I know people who have transplants, it's the same. There's a worry. Like on Tuesday, my partner literally had to sort of almost drag me out the house. Because I was like, no, change my mind. They can put it on ice. I can't do it. I can't, like, what am I doing? Risking my life, basically, is what I was feeling. Yeah. And that, it's still, this is early days. And I hope if I do have some neurotoxicity, I would like to try and record it, just so people can sort of see what it's like. I do, or we'll see what I'm saying, but I think
documented on that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it's important because we just don't have much data and much research. But for me, the emotional side of this has been very much harder to deal with, and I'm not scared of dying. I think I've just been living with death, the idea of dying for so long. It really doesn't scare me as much as it did when I was diagnosed. I still obviously don't want to leave my children, but they're getting older, and I realise I'm 4 years beyond my life expectancy now, so I'm feeling just grateful. But the making a decision to jump at a time when I wasn't ready for it. I think it's different with acute leukemias, obviously, and diffuse large B-cell lymphomas. You don't have the choice, but I did have a choice, and it was a really bloody hard decision to make.
It might have been a little bit easy now, your genetics has changed a little bit too.
And that's definitely helped, because I didn't know that on Monday. So I'm going to have a word with Con, because I would be like, Con, if you told me that, would have really helped me. Yeah. And again, that's doctors going, okay, we've made a decision, you're along with it, but not really appreciating the emotional side of, and that's not to say anything, because we all know Con's brilliant at this kind of thing, but it's a bit like, I'm looking forward, and I'll certainly help Lymphoma Australia with our next version of a CAR T book, because I really love our CLL, SLL booklet. It's the first one where it really talks about the dealing with the mental health sides of living with a chronic blood cancer. And I think when you've gone from treatment to treatment, and then we're getting more serious treatments the longer we live, that's a really interesting side. But no one had, they got me to see a neuro. They got me to see, like, no one had actually talked mental health with me before, so I'll be sorting that one out.
It's a good project for us, Deb, that's for sure.
Exactly.
It's great to get your insight, and I'm glad that everything's going well for you so far, and thank you so much. And there's more information on our website, which we've put together, fact sheets and things like that too, but we'll be working together, and we'll catching in with you shortly for the next stage. And follow
me on the blog for I'm blogging, or going to get my family to blog, so we'll put that up at the end of this. But just as a central point, and if I'm not well enough to put stuff on, my sister will. But it's exciting. It's I've won the lottery, and it is exciting. And I'm getting to meet. How lucky are we here to have these doctors? Every single consultant that I've seen is published, and Donna and I have read their papers at hematology conferences. I'm feeling incredibly safe, really safe, and I couldn't ask for anything more.
Wish you all the best, and thank you so much for
Thank you.
Choice.